طيب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Just in case if you did not attend the keynote or left before the last 10 minutes, أنا محمد علاء, I'm the Azure Solutions Specialist in Middle East and Africa. In this session, I'm going to talk to you about Windows Azure and give you more details than we covered in the keynote. Just in case if you're not sure if this is the right session or not, so this is the hybrid cloud track. The productivity track is the second group, and the developers track is the third group. So let's start with Windows Azure. So before I start talking about the services available in Windows Azure, I always like to make sure that you have the full understanding of the different categories of cloud services available in the market. And this applies to Microsoft and non-Microsoft. Okay? So, are you aware of the software as a service category? Software as a service is more of ready-made services where customers, they just subscribe for the service and consume it. But the cloud vendor is responsible for everything. The second category is the platform as a service. And this is the new platform where you can build future kind of cloud applications. And I'll talk to you more about it. And then finally, the infrastructure as a service. Infrastructure as a service is more or less the way you're doing the private cloud or virtualization today in your data center. The only difference is that this virtualization is running in a different data center. So it's as if you're hosting your own virtual machines in Microsoft data center. So that's the infrastructure as a service in the public cloud. If we drill down more to understand the details, you will see that here, the orange boxes are basically what you do as a customer. The green boxes are what we do as a cloud vendor. So you'll see here that this is the way this is the way we run our data centers today. You're basically responsible for everything. You're responsible for the hardware, the software, the network, the firewalls, the load balancers, the support, everything. Okay? On the other side, the software as a service, you will see that the cloud vendor here is responsible for everything. And an example to that is Office 365. So you'll see in Office 365, Microsoft, for example, for Exchange Online. Microsoft runs Exchange. We do the support, we do the management, the patching, the tuning, everything is done by Microsoft. You're just a consumer for the service. You subscribe for the service, you pay the amount of users per month or per year, and that's it. Okay? So you have absolutely nothing to do with the hardware, the software, the network, or the support of this service. The infrastructure as a service and the platform as a service, you'll find them in the middle here. Okay? So infrastructure as a service, I'll start with it because it's a bit easier. In our data centers, we are responsible for giving you the host for your virtual machines. Okay? So we provide the hardware, we provide the software, the network, up to the level of the hypervisor. But anything running in your virtual machine, so the operating system and above, is your responsibility. So it's as if you're renting some virtual machines in Microsoft data center. But you own those virtual machines. You patch the servers, you install your applications, you manage them, you support them, it's your responsibility. You can have virtual networks, as you will see later on, so you can build your own kind of virtual data center inside our data center. Okay? Platform as a service, this is, I would say, a bit futuristic. Although we've started this effort 4 years ago in Microsoft, we provided our platform as a services 4 years ago, and I believe it's very advanced technology. This is the new way of building cloud applications, but the only challenge we've seen that maybe the customers are not ready yet. Not all of the customers are ready yet. Okay? So we'll see lots of traction when it comes to platform as a service, but not from all of our customers. So that's why now we're moving more into the infrastructure as a service, so that we give you both options. We give you the future of the cloud, which is platform as a service, and to give you what you can do right now, which is the infrastructure as a service. And platform as a service, the difference here is that we own everything except for the application and the data. So you own the application and the data, you just host it in our platform, and you use all of the scalability and the flexibility, the security, the tools that we have in our platform, and we make sure that your application is up and running, so availability, the support, everything is done by us. The patching, the tune, everything is done by us. Okay? You're only responsible for the application and the data. And I'll talk in more details about the platform as a service. Clear? Any questions? This is your session. And we don't have lots of audience, so if you have questions, please ask.
Antivirus.
We'll talk about it. So, question here?
I want to know that when you talk about platform as a service, the customer's data and the applications is something that is taken care of by the customer, but it is on the platform that you have provided. So what is the security in that terms? Like, what is the thing that Microsoft would not share the data, or there is a complete security, only that customer has an access to that data, but nobody else, not even Microsoft?
Okay, so thank you for asking this question related to security, and I have a slide just to talk about security, okay? So this is the slides that I covered today, and this is seriously what everyone is expecting, okay? So public cloud is coming, it's inevitable, okay? It's a matter of time. So, and think of this is how I think of it. Think of mobiles 12 years ago or 13 years ago. Remember the small Nokia and Ericsson? Okay? Where is the mobiles today? It's a totally different story. Now we have applications, we have GPS running, we have everything running in our smart phones. Think of the public cloud in the same way. We're just starting the public cloud. Okay? It starts now, but we believe, everybody believes that in 10, 15 years from now, you will see businesses fully running in the public cloud. And this is, of course, depending on the size of the business. So we're speculating that small and medium business for the coming 5 years will be totally moving into the public cloud. So you will see companies, small companies, opening and running all of the IT infrastructure in our data centers or in hosted data centers. So they will have absolutely no data centers. I'm working with consultancy firms today that are building what is called IT as a service. So not even the infrastructure, even the IT itself. So the IT team can be outsourced to other organizations as well. So everything will be running in the cloud. You want to open a business, you go to, you get electricity, you get water, you get internet, and you get your IT services. Okay, so this is the future. This is coming. Okay? Of course, it will be different from one organization to another organization, depending on the size, but it will be happening. However, what we see as well is that for the coming 10, 15 years, we will still live in the hybrid cloud. The enterprises, big enterprises, will be living in the hybrid cloud environment. And you'll see the roads distributed. Again, the main scenarios that are succeeding today, dev and test, custom apps, and storage, and I'll talk to you in more details about them. So, what is different about the Windows Azure platform? Okay? And just to, because I typically get some questions about Windows Azure, like, is this an operating system? Can we download Windows Azure and use it locally? Use it on-prem? What is that? Is it like .NET framework? And to give you a simple question for that, think of Windows Azure as a number of data centers. Microsoft data centers, we have 80 data centers today, providing some services in the cloud to host your machines or to host your applications. Okay? So Windows Azure is not an operating system. Windows Azure is a public cloud platform, providing a number of services that we'll talk about in details. So, what are the differentiators of Windows Azure? The first one is flexibility. Yes, and we are flexible. We've been in the data center business since 1989. So this is more than 24 years now, running data centers. And think of Hotmail, think of Bing, think of Office 365, think of all of the cloud services that we have today. Skype, all of those are cloud services that we are operating. So we've been in this business for a long time now. Okay? Our data centers are totally different from the normal data centers that you will see. I was in a data center a month ago in Redmond. It was like a development and testing data center. They had only 2 units. And you'll see that it's totally different story. The way the servers themselves, like when you go to a normal data center, you'll see fans in the servers and heat coming out of it. That's not the case. Okay? The servers in our case is just a set of racks in a big container, and there are no fans for each and every server. It's like units, and the ventilation is done across the whole container. So it's not done per server. The servers and the hardware in general is manufactured specifically for Microsoft. So we don't get the HPs and the Dells that you get from the market. We have those containers manufactured as per our specs for our data centers. Okay? So when we talk about flexibility, it is really flexible. You can go and fire up hundreds of virtual machines, absolutely no issues. You can store hundreds of terabytes of data or petabytes of data, no problem. We have the storage to cover that. When it comes to openness, you will see that this is a decision that was taken by Microsoft. That you know what? We're not alone in this world. There is Microsoft, there is Linux, there is .NET, there is Java, there is SQL, there is Oracle, so there are other platforms. So you will see that where we have in Windows Azure, we're working with different vendors to enable them in our platform. So we'll see that right now we support Windows, but we support some versions of Linux, which will increase over time. So right now we support SUSE and a couple of other versions. Later on we'll go for Red Hat, same thing for other platforms. Okay? So flexibility, openness is very important. And then solidness, as I told you, we've been running data centers for a very long time. So we know how to run data centers. I've seen the meaning of the word redundancy in our data center. This is redundancy across everything, across the servers, storage, network, even the network connectivity. We have like 2 huge network connectivity connected to the same data center for up to the level of the generators. You know how it goes in the data center? You have generators just in case if you have a power cut off, then you get the generator. We have redundant generators. Okay? So everything is redundant. Up to the level that we do redundancy across data centers. So you see in Windows Azure data centers, all of them are geo-replicated with each other. So they come in pairs. In Europe we have 2 data centers, and they are geo-replicated with each other. In Asia we have 2 data centers geo-replicated with each other. In the US we have 4, each 2 geo-replicated with each other. Okay? So this is the solidness that we're talking about. And then after that, what is also the main differentiator? I would say that the main differentiator is the end-to-end integrated story. Because we've seen that you as a customer will be living in the hybrid cloud environment for 10, 15 years. So this is how we build our platforms. And this is starting from the Windows Server operating system to the management tools to all of our products going forward. All of our products will be cloud ready. Okay? So that's why you'll see things like starting from identity. The same identity you use today, Active Directory, for the authentication of your machines and servers, you will use it to access machines in Windows Azure, okay? As well as applications running over there. Virtualization. You're using Hyper-V today, the same VHGs, you copy them into the cloud, you fire up the virtual machine, it will work. What if you have VMware? The only difference here is that there will be additional step, which is converting the VMware virtual machine into VHD and then moving it to the cloud, to Windows Azure. What does that give you? This gives you flexibility. This gives you the decision to decide whether to go for Windows Azure or back on-premise with no limitations. So if you have an application today running on-prem and then you decide to move to Azure, you take it in VHD as is, copy it to Azure, try it there. You don't like Agile. You didn't like the performance. You're facing some issues. You can return it back to on-prem or give it to a hoster, and it will work as is, same standard, nothing special. Okay? So it's not locked down to our platform. Management. So we have in mind that the goal of giving you one management tool to manage all of your applications, whether they run on physical servers, virtual servers, or in the cloud. And this is what we have in System Center right now. So System Center 2020 SP1, you can manage your applications, and that's Microsoft and even non-Microsoft applications running in your physical boxes, as well as the ones running in Hyper-V or even VMware, as well as the ones running in Azure. And you will see that we're integrating this with the hosters, so that you can even manage your machines running with the hosters. So this is our integrated story. The last one is the development, the same tools. So using Visual Studio, you can use it to build the normal applications you build today, or you can build the future cloud applications on our platform as a service. Same tools. What if you're not using .NET, you're using Java? Again, you can still use Eclipse to build Java applications in the cloud, in our platform. So we're open, and we're giving you the flexibility. And when it comes to the end-to-end integrated story, it's not just on the technical level. So this is more on the technical level. No, you will see the integration on the business level. So do you have an enterprise agreement with Microsoft? If yes, this will be part of your enterprise agreement. So you don't have to, it's not like one option, you need to put your credit card in the internet. No, we know that here in this region, we don't have the culture of the corporate credit card. So in this case, you can have it as part of your EA. And you don't have to violate your budgeting process and your annual renewal process. So this is part of the business integration. Support. Do you have Premier support for Microsoft? Have you ever used Microsoft support? It's the same thing, but for Windows Azure. So this is the level of integration that we're talking about. I always get the question about the data centers. Where are the data centers? Right now we have 8 data centers. 4 in the US, 2 in Europe, Amsterdam and Dublin, and 2 in Asia. Okay? We don't have data centers in our region yet. And this would be a business-driven decision. So if we have more applications, more workloads running in the cloud, definitely we will be building data centers here in the region. And you will see that part of the knowledge that and experience that we're building in the data center business is that how fast we can build data centers. Today, you will see that the data centers, building the data centers, is brought down to months, a couple of months, instead of years. Because now it comes in containers. We'll just ship the containers, and all what is required is that we need the right infrastructure. So we just need electricity, power, okay, and water supply, and piece of land, and we can have our data center, of course, internet connectivity, and then we can have our data center anywhere, okay? So the time to build data center is going down. So you'll see more data centers over time. So having that said, back to the question of the security. I always get this question. How about security? And I want to make sure that my data is safe and secure in your cloud, okay? So our short answer to that is that we believe that your data is more secure in our data center than it is in your own data center. And this is not out of, like ego or being arrogant and we're the smart guys. This is because of experience. We are the number one, after the Department of Defense in the US, we are the number one attacked sites worldwide. So hackers, when they want to hack a site, it's Microsoft site. Okay? Because think of that, if you are a hacker and you want to be famous, would you go and hit a small website running in our region, or go and hit the big guy? So we'll go and hit Microsoft. We actually have a regular penetration testing for our data centers. So we bring other companies to go and try to do penetration testing to our own data centers, and we get the reports so that we regularly fix our bugs and issues. So security for us is a big thing. And we have a website dedicated for that. If you go to the main website for Windows Azure is www.windowsazure, one word, okay, .com. You go there, you find everything. Free trial, it's over there. Documentation, over there. Everything is over there. Okay? So go to this website, and you will find under Support Trust Center, this is our site to give you all of the information required regarding security. You will see 3 sections in the Trust Center. You'll see one section for security. We have lots of white papers telling you how we secure our data end-to-end, starting from the physical access of the facility to how we handle multi-tenancy and user access to the Active Directory. Okay? So in terms of security, technology, end-to-end. And then we have another section for privacy. Privacy is a big thing in Europe and the US. Okay? And we are selling in the Europe, and we are certified to sell in the European Union and in the US and in the federal government. Okay? So we've passed lots of certifications to achieve this. The third section you'll find there is the compliance. Okay? Because now we're hosting customers' applications. Some of those customers, they have their own regulations and that they need to comply with. Okay? In order to achieve that, we certify our own data centers for you. So we get certificates like PCI, certificates ISO, FISMA, HIPAA, all of those certifications. We get auditors to audit our data centers and give us the certification. Now, if you're hosting your application in our data center, all what you need to do is just to certify your part, your application. So it's even much easier for you if you're after one of those certifications. And of course, this is an old snapshot. The latest updates you will find them in the website. So having that said, what does Windows Azure offer in terms of services? We offer 3 main services. Website hosting, and this is the normal service that you will see from many companies. Where you go, you buy a URL and some storage, you put your static website and it's up and running. Okay, this doesn't cost much. Actually, we provide this for free for the first 10 sites, or small static sites, and then after that it's like $10 and $15 and things like that. So why are we after this business? Because we discovered, when we did analysis, we discovered that this is a big market share of the market in the internet right now. Okay? But this is not for you anymore. So cloud services and virtual machines. So cloud services, this is the building the cloud applications, platform as a service, and virtual machines, this is the infrastructure as a service. So I will not talk much about websites. The only thing is that it supports multiple technologies, ASP.NET, it supports PHP, Git, in terms of access, FTP, all of the standard things, platforms and technologies that you need to build a simple website. Cloud services. So I spent some time here because now this is the new way of building cloud applications. So today in your organization, if you have some plans to build a new application or a service, whether it's mobile service, okay, or a web-based service that will be available on the internet, please consider reading about our platform as a service. We're changing the way you will build applications. Okay? You'll see here that if you think about how we used to build applications today in the normal way without the platform as a service, you have let's say a simple website. Okay? So we have a website that we want to publish on the internet, and this website has some services. So we need a database running in the back end, and we might integrate with some other applications. In order to do that, first you need to configure a database server, right? So you will choose between SQL or Oracle or DB2, and then you have to get this database server. If it is highly available, then it is a cluster. So you need to think of the cluster, getting the storage, getting the database, deploying the database, patching the database, tuning the database, right? Getting storage for the database. That's only for the database part. And then you have the websites. You get a couple of servers for websites. And then you have load balancing. And then you need a firewall to secure the website. So you get the firewall. And then you need to integrate with other applications. So you get a middleware. That could be Bistro, that could be Dipco, that could be web methods, whatever, middleware, right? So all of this to have a simple website running on the internet. Now this is totally different. You don't have to do that. You don't have to reinvent the wheel and build the normal application components. You need a database. You will get an up-running database from Microsoft. This is our SQL Server. We manage it, we batch it, we tune it, we just provide it for you as a service. You need a couple of databases, go ahead and create the databases and start writing, reading, and running reports out of the database. And you get the best performance ever because Microsoft is managing this server. Okay? You want to grow in the storage? Grow in the storage. But absolutely no problem. You don't have to go and buy primary storage and DR storage and do backups. And it's ready for you. It's highly available. Okay? Think again of the storage. Your website is managing media. And we know data is growing like crazy. So you need to buy more storage? No. The storage is available for you in the cloud. You want to grow, you can grow. You want to shrink, you can shrink. And you pay only for the storage that you're consuming.
In this case, we don't need a backup?
So the question here is, in this case, you don't need backup? And the answer, it depends. So if you have a process for regular backups that you might need to refer back to retrieve some data that might be lost for any reason, no, you will still need to do backups. Okay? But the service will help you in doing that.
Yeah, but it's a cloud. Backup will be in the premise or cloud?
So the question is, this is the cloud, so whether the backup should be in the cloud or on-premise, it's your call. So you can have the backups on-premise or in the cloud. Okay, so both options are available. Think of this as an extension to your data center, but in another data center. So we're giving you access to all of those services. Okay? You're like renting them from Microsoft. So you want more storage, rent some storage from Microsoft. You want database, rent some database from Microsoft. But whether you want to have the backup on-prem or in the cloud, it's your decision. It's your storage, and you do whatever you want to do. Okay? So, again, storage, you're managing media, you want to grow your storage, you can grow your storage. You're taking backups, okay, and you don't have enough storage for the backups, you can use the cloud to do the backups at much cheaper prices. Traffic management, so you don't need load balancers. We provide you with our own load balancers. You don't need firewall. We provide you with our own firewall. So all of this is now as part of the platform. Don't think about it. Okay? They are ready for you as a service. Messaging, so you want to integrate with other applications or with other organizations. We have like an enterprise service bus up and running, managed, tuned by Microsoft that you can use. You just define the endpoints that I want to integrate between this application, that application. I'm going to use SOAP services for that. I want to do digital signing or encryption in this way, and you just use the platform to send the messages or to integrate between applications. It's ready for you to consume. Okay? And you pay Microsoft per message. So that's another module. Caching. This is to have a better performance, because one of the special things about platform as a service, so that we can give you the right scalability and flexibility, all of the instances are stateless. When it comes to platform as a service, all of the instances are stateless. That's why you cannot take all of your applications today and just put it in platform as a service. Some of them might not work. Okay? If they depend on the local storage on the server, then maybe you need to do some redesign and rewriting of some components of your application so that it can run on the cloud as a service. But those changes are not that much. Once you do that, the instances are stateless. So if you want to access anything, caching is there for you. Okay? Identity in the cloud. So think of this as Active Directory in the cloud with the federation services and everything. What else? CDNs. This is Content Distribution Network. So you're building a website. You want to build a website like YouTube. Okay? And you're hosting media. And you want to have a good experience. You have users from all over the world, in the the US and in Europe, and you want to give them good user experience when they download this content. So you can use the content distribution, our content distribution network, to distribute your content. This is the network that we use to distribute our Microsoft downloads. You know, when you download updates and for the Windows and the servers, this is how we do it. You don't download it directly from the US. We have this content replicated all over the world, and we work with many carriers, even in the region here, where they have caching servers from Microsoft to do this content distribution. So you can use the same service for your own applications. Media services. Media is a big thing today. One of the case studies that we're really proud of is the Windows, the London Olympics. All of the London Olympics live broadcasting was running on Windows Azure. So this gives you the understanding of the capabilities that we have in this service. All of the encoding and conversions to different media formats and broadcasting is available there in this media services. So having that said, I don't want to invest more time here in the platform and service, but I just wanted to share with you the idea of building a future application. So if you're building a mobile application, if you're building an internet-facing cloud service, if you're thinking of new applications to sell to your customers, think of this. Think of platform as a service. Okay, and it has a much better business model because you don't have to invest in capex. It's mainly OpEx. So you put it as part of your business model and calculations, and it will work when you sell those services to customers. Please.
How it will be cost effective as compared to if you invest in one small development rather going for
Okay, so how cost efficient it will be? Of course, we need to do this calculation case by case. Okay. However, it has to be cost efficient. Okay, because it's much cheaper if you take into consideration the total cost of ownership. So in the scenario that I mentioned of building the service, if you calculated the price of the hardware, the servers, the network, switches and routers, the firewalls, the load balancers, the storage, building the whole data center, and compare it to the prices over 3 years, you will see that it is quite efficient. Okay? And again, the change from capex to opex is definitely a good business value for you because you don't have to invest the money before you get money from your service. You will just build your application, host it over there, and then you will charge your customers and pay Microsoft as you are paid from your customer. Okay?
what will be the limitations? Is there any limitations, more limitations? Okay, these are the limitations.
So the question is, what are the limitations? And I would say definitely yes, they are. There are. In some cases, and like you will see some limitations in maybe the amount of data, stuff like that. Okay? But those limitations, I can tell you that we're working on removing them over time. Okay? So this is, I would say, step one. We're just taking step one in the public cloud. And you'll see this improving time over time. Okay? Having that said, I want to move to the infrastructure as a service part. Okay? We understand the concept now, hosting virtual machines. But now we want to talk about scenarios that might actually work for you. So how can I benefit from this? So Microsoft is offering me an infrastructure as a service platform where I can host virtual machines. Then how I can use it? Okay? This is sharing with you our experience worldwide. So what is succeeding right now? Okay? We see storage succeeding big time, and we've actually translated this to an acquisition that we did a couple of months ago for Store Simple, and I'll talk about it in more details. Storage in the cloud. We see dev and test big time. Lots of people are moving their dev and test in the cloud because, again, think of it. If you see the future in the public cloud, then you will start slowly but surely. And to start slowly, dev and test is an easy way. There is no sensitive data in the dev and test platforms, right? And there are some needs in the dev and test that you need. Then why not move to the public cloud with dev and test? Take the first step. Try it. Be ready for the future. Okay? And of course, moving some, so we see some customers actually moving more clouds, like tier 2, tier 3 kind of applications to the cloud. So I'll start with the first scenario, dev and test. The pains. I'm coming from an app dev background, so I know the pains of app dev. Okay? Usually, the development labs are crap. We cannot replicate production because it doesn't make sense from the business point of view. Right? No business manager or owner will spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to build a data center and then spend the same amount to build the right development platform for you to build applications for a couple of months. It will not happen. Okay? So this is a challenge. You cannot replicate production to do the proper testing. What is the result of that? The result of that is that sometimes you get bugs and issues only in production. Because you've never tested this amount of load, or you've never tested this architecture before. So you see the issues directly in production. So replicating the production is a big thing. Another challenge that you see, time to market. So I was in a discussion a month ago with a bank in Abu Dhabi. Okay? And in the same meeting, we had people from the operations and we had people from the application development team. And they raised one, like we were talking about the different workloads and applications, and we said that they have this very important application, and there is a mandate from the business to do a change. There is a change request to do this application, that they need to do this application. But in order to do it, they need a machine to do the development. So they sent a request to the operations team, and they told them, we need a couple of machines to start doing our development effort. And we have a deadline to finish this change by 2 months from now. Okay? The response of the operations team was, we can only give you those virtual machines in a month from now. Why is that? Because we ran out of storage. So we don't have storage. We're waiting for the EMC storage to come. It's coming in a couple of weeks. After that, we'll configure our virtualization cluster, and then we will be able to give you the virtual machines. So this is a big challenge, time to market. Today, you've seen in the demo, 5 minutes you can fire up the 2 virtual machines and start working immediately. Maybe need the approvals, but that should be a short cycle. Okay? But time to market is definitely a big thing. Now when it comes to development, I get some questions like, sometimes the development environment might need to access some information on-prem. And I'll give you examples, like they might need to access some data in a database, or some files in a file chain, or integrate with an application, or we need to authenticate with Active Directory. Okay? So how do we do this connectivity? We have 2 ways of doing it. We have what is called the Windows Azure Connect. It's an agent-based VPN connectivity. It's based on IPsec, SSL. It runs over SSL and PKI kind of certificates. So it's a secure channel point-to-point between a server running in Windows Azure and a server running on-prem. This is something that you can do today with your Tribe account. Okay? There is a more advanced way of doing it, which is having a site-to-site connectivity. Okay, so if you want to connect your network to your virtual network running on Windows Azure, you can do that. So now it's part of your network. When you ping the IP address, it will just go over the tunnel and ping the IP address over there. Okay, so both options are available. Another challenge that is, I see it more here in this region, is that most of the development is done offshore. So we get developers from India, from Pakistan, from Jordan, from Egypt, and they are working with us on building the applications. And they need to have access to the application, either in the testing phase or the development phase. So how do you do that? You give them VPN connectivity, which is a compromise for the security of your data center. How you do that in Azure, you just give them access to the cloud, to Windows Azure, to Microsoft Data Center. So there is absolutely no compromise to the security of your own data center. Okay? So dev and test, question?
You said that to access the Azure from your premises, you need to have a server which will have the Azure Connect VPN. It's a special kind of software or it's a device.
To connect the point to point?
Yeah.
Or site to site?
From site to site, let's say.
So, site to site, you need to have a VPN solution or a VPN appliance, and you just configure it with our gateway.
So it's any VPN?
Any VPN, TMG. If you have TMG, you can just configure it and build the VPN channel.
Let's suppose you wanted to provide the same access to your partner who's developing some solution for you for 1 month or 2 months. So you have to have a same appliance there as well or not? They just can access it over the internet.
Can you repeat the question?
Let's suppose you wanted to give the same kind of access to a partner who is developing some application for you and they require access for 1 month or 2 months. Okay? So do you need to provide the same kind of appliance for them or they can access the same site over the internet?
So they will have the same two options. So they can have site-to-site connectivity as well, so they are connected to the same network, or they can have the point-to-point connectivity. So you just give them access to a specific server, for example, to do the connectivity. Okay? For both scenarios are options. So, long story short, dev and test is the right way to do right now in the cloud. Okay, it's pretty easy. No absolute issues with data sovereignty or sensitivity or anything like that. Okay, so I go to, like when I work with governmental entities, sometimes, not all of them. Okay, some of the governmental entities, they say no, we have regulations. We cannot save any data outside of the country. Right? Okay? This is not the case. In dev and test, there is absolutely no data. This is just a development and testing environment. Don't put sensitive data over there. And the question now is more of data classification. So I sit with public sector or governmental customers, and I tell them, let's do the data classification. How many applications do you have? We have 100 applications. How many of them are critical applications? 5. How many of them are, I would say, like tier 2 kind of applications? 10. How about the 85 applications? They are not that sensitive, they are not that important, and we have like 3-4 users for this application, 3-4 users for that application. Why not move them in the cloud? They have no sensitive data, they are not that important to your business, and they are using resources from your data center. Move them to the cloud. You have an RFP, you want to do POCs? Why get a lab to do the POCs? I remember that we spent months in doing POCs for one single RFP. Why is that? Because the customer, they have only one server for the lab. Why do that? Do the labs in the cloud. Get the vendors. You have 4 vendors applying for that. Give them access, do the POCs, finish them in a couple of weeks. So this is the agility I'm talking about. I have a question in the back. I'm not sure if I'll be able to raise your voice.
In terms of bandwidth, what is the requirement of bandwidth for the connection?
Okay, very good question. So what is the bandwidth requirement? Okay? It all depends on the scenario that you're using. So the dev test, nothing much. You can use whatever bandwidth you have today. Okay? Because it's not a chatty application. So it depends on the application you're hosting. If it is a chatty application, and I'll give you an example right now, which is the storage in the cloud, then yes, there is a minimum bandwidth that you need to have. And I'll talk about it in more detail. Thank you for this good question. So dev and test, I think it's clear.
There is any equation in this area? How much data transfer, how much bandwidth?
Yes, and I'll tell you again. It depends on the service we're talking about. Okay. So the second scenario is actually moving some workloads to the cloud. An ultimate scenario for that is an internet-facing website. Okay? And of course, if it is SharePoint for internet, then it's a no-brainer. So if you have SharePoint for internet, hosting your internet site, which is the publicly available data, your internet presence, why host it in your data center? Host it in Azure. The internet bandwidth, just when you go, and please, my only ask for you after this session is to go, create a free trial account, and try this Windows Azure thing. Create a virtual machine. And within this virtual machine, I want you to test the speed of the internet of our data center. Just to see how fast is the internet over there. Okay? And this is why internet sites, just take them as is, host them in our data center. You will get better performance, you will serve your customers better, you will get higher availability because this is our data center. It will not depend on your internet connection availability. And we know in our region what kind of SLA you get for your internet connectivity. Right? You host your website there, and we guarantee to you that the website will be up and running and will be serving your customers 24/7 with very high performance. So moving internet sites, okay? And of course, if you want to move actual tier 2, tier 3 kind of applications, it's going to be the same thing, as I mentioned earlier. Having that said, another example is SQL. So you have SQL Server that you use for running behind SharePoint, running behind a custom application or whatever, and you want to have a disaster recovery for this SQL Server. Put it in Azure. Just fire up the server and configure the replication, and then you have a DR for SQL Server running in the cloud. If there is anything wrong with your server, you can either download this server or you can just point the DNS to this server, and you will get a small impact in the performance, which is the latency due to the connectivity from your data center to our data center. So another options like doing the reporting in the cloud. So in some cases, I've worked with customers, they have the challenge that they run production and reporting on the same database, okay, which impacts the performance of their end users. So what we can do is that we can replicate, we can split and put the reporting components in the cloud. So you get the reports running, you consume our resources, the compute and the network resources in the data center, and you get the final report type. And you free your resources for your application. Another scenario that I mentioned earlier, which is storage in the cloud. Okay? And storage in the cloud is a big thing that is succeeding worldwide right now. And as I mentioned earlier, a couple of months ago, we've acquired a company called StoreSimple, so now this is Microsoft. Okay? And this company just provides a smart appliance. This smart appliance is an interface to storage in the cloud. Basically, if you want to store data, in Windows Azure you can do that. We provide the standard interfaces to do that. Okay? The different thing, or the differentiator of this solution is the appliance. We give you a standard appliance. It's rack mounted. That gives you SAN iSCSI interface. You put it in your data center, you connect it to your servers, and you start saving as if you have a big SAN storage that can grow up to 100 terabytes of storage, or there is another version of the appliance that can grow up to 500 terabytes of storage. Just the appliance is that big. And it can store half petabyte of data. Okay? You just put it in your data center, connect it to the server, start provisioning volumes, LUNs, and store data. And there are many scenarios that you can use them in, like file shares. So all of your file shares, backups and archives. You can just put all of your backup and archives over there.
Excuse me. This appliance is in addition to your SAN, or it replaces your storage in the SAN?
It depends on how you're going to use it. I got your question. So the question here is that this appliance, is it in addition to your normal SAN storage, or it will replace SAN storage? And the answer to that is that this is your decision. Okay? So in some scenarios, it can totally replace your SAN. Okay? In some scenarios, it can be an addition to your SAN. So it depends on how you're going to use it. And to be frank with you, there are some scenarios that are going to tell you don't use it for this scenario. And I'll tell you why. Okay? This appliance is a pretty smart appliance. It has 3 tiers of storage. It has a set of local storage. Okay? It has a set of SSDs. So this is like a high performance, extremely expensive kind of storage. Okay? And this is the initial interface with the appliance. So whenever you store a file or you read a file from this appliance, it will hit this SSD. So you get very fast access to the storage. Okay? The second tier is a bit of slower, cheaper storage, which is SAS storage. The third tier is in the cloud. Okay? And how it works is that it's fully managed by the appliance. It's totally redundant. Gives you a web interface to go and configure this appliance or scripts if you want to. Okay? And you can start writing data to, as I mentioned earlier, creating volumes, writing data, file shares, whatever, and then it monitors your access to the data. And whatever data you put in the appliance, okay, there is a standard process. This data will be taken, will be deduplicated, okay, and will be compressed, encrypted, and then uploaded to the cloud. So it will be deduplicated and then compressed. Okay, so this is like double compression of your data, and then encrypted and uploaded to the cloud. Okay? And the service will monitor, the appliance will monitor your access to the data. Okay? So it will keep the frequently accessed files and data in the first tier. So if you have a database, like a SQL database, and you put it over there, then it will keep this SQL database in the SSD tier. So you get the high performance. But if you have file shares that you're not frequently accessing them, it will be removed from the cache and will be kept only in the cloud. Okay? Now, what about the value that you will get from this appliance? Basically, you can replace all of the different storage services. And please, when you think of storage, it's not just primary storage. It's primary storage, it's DR, it's backups, it's archives, it's tapes. Okay? We can replace the whole set of services of storage by two things. The appliance and storage in the cloud and our Azure. Okay? Why is that? Because anything stored in Azure is replicated by default. So you don't have to worry about DR. You don't have to worry about the availability of the data. If your data is in Azure, then it will stay in Azure. We guarantee this for you. This is something that we will give you on paper. It's not like we promise you to do that. No. Okay? This is a commitment from us. Your data will be available for you 99 to 95% of the time as per our SLA. You can access this data. What does that mean? This means that if your data center was nuked tomorrow, you can go to a different country, you can go to Saudi, get this appliance, connect to the internet, and rebuild your data center. All of the data will be replicated there. Again, the storage in Azure is cheaper and there is no limitations. So you can grow the storage. So you want to take backups, it can be done directly in the cloud. You save time and you save money. You want to do archives, you do whatever you want to do, it's just done in the cloud. Okay? And with it, some TCO analysis for, do I have 5 minutes? Okay. So 5 minutes and I'll have to finish. So we did TCO analysis to this solution, and we compared the total cost of ownership over 3 years for 50 terabytes, and we give almost 60 to 80% reduction for the total cost of ownership. Okay? We have an offer that is running today up till 31st of March, where we provide this appliance free of charge. If you put a 50K commitment of storage. So if you have like 20, 30, or 50 terabytes of data today, okay, I would recommend going for this solution. You just pay 50K commitment, you get an appliance. The cost of this appliance is 70K. Free of charge from Microsoft because we're promoting this technology. You get this appliance, you put it in your data center, and you start doing all of the scenarios that we talked about. Okay? I have one question.
Yeah, I have a question on the first slide. You spoke about how the building blocks are very different in Windows with Hyper-V. So it brings to my mind how management compared to bare metal hypervisor. So how do you compare bare metal hypervisor to Windows-based?
I'm not fully getting the question, but can we take this offline after the session? So I'll just go quickly through the DR scenarios that you will have. Of course, you know that we have different levels of DR, cold, warm, and hot. So you'll see that for the cold DR, with the appliance, it's straightforward. Okay? You take backup in the cloud, At any point in time, you want to get a specific backup in a specific date, just get it back and restore. So that's the cold DR. The second option is the warm DR, so it's a bit faster than the cold DR. You can actually, if those environments or those workloads are virtualized, then you can restore them in the cloud, which will be much faster. Because there will be no dependency on restoring the physical hardware and the connectivity in your data center. You can just restore them in the cloud. So this is faster. And of course, the third option is the hot DR, where you can have workloads running in parallel at the same time, and you do replication on the level of the database or the application. So question? There is deduplication for? Yeah, so the question... So the question is there deduplication? And the answer is yes. Deduplication right now is used across. So I mentioned in the appliance, we use deduplication. In our DPM for backup, we use deduplication. So we're using, in our even branch, new branch technology, in Windows Server 2012, we're using deduplication. So deduplication is used across. I'll have to go quickly because I have a couple of minutes, and then we can take the questions offline. So we have another offering with Commvault, the top backup and archiver as per the Gartner Magic Quadrant. Right now they can store their backups in the cloud, and they support any type of environment, that's including Unix, Linux, Oracle, whatever. So having that said, in terms of how you can buy that, I said that you can buy it with your EA. I will not have enough time to explain it in details, but just a quick description. It works the same way like prepaid mobile cards. Okay? So you charge, you put in your enterprise agreement some monetary commitment, and then you start consuming it over time. The only difference is that for prepaid mobile cards, when your credit is done, the mobile carrier will stop the service. For us, we don't. We will give you the option to continue using the service until your anniversary. So next year, we will go and then we will tell you that you have this overage and how we want to renew your monetary commitment for the next year. I'll share with you this presentation, and we have a website on the internet where you can do the calculation to do the estimates per year. So I'll just want to share with you the momentum. We have tons of customers running right now in the cloud. Right now I can tell you that most of them are more in the platform as a service, as well as dev and test, as well as storage, okay? And this is the momentum for last year only, and you see big names like Avis, like NEC, like Coca-Cola, all of them are running services in the cloud. So that's it for the session today. Thank you very much. Your go-to website is www.windowsazure.com. I'll be outside after the session, just in case if you have any questions, we can take them over. Thank you very much, and thank you for your time.